First, a little background. For those of you who may be new to this channel, maybe this is the first video of me that you've seen, I own a couple of gyms, I'm a personal trainer, and I've competed in all types of sports, but right now I'm kind of focusing on powerlifting and just basically getting stronger. I noticed that when I start to bench press and actually progress and get more intense, namely sets of 3, sets of 2, sets of 1, it really aggravates my elbows to the point where I actually can't even lift anymore. I mean, and if I do, it's not actually progressing anything. If anything, I'm just greasing the groove and just practicing my technique. And I've dealt with that for a long time, actually for years. I have yet to have a very good bench press program. Like, I'll have a great squat progression, deadlift progression, but when it comes to the bench press, I haven't really had anything clicking, and it's often because I'm dealing with this elbow pain. And finally I decided, okay, look, I don't have any competitions in the horizon. Let me actually just try to finally figure out a way to alleviate this once and for all. First, let's just explain very briefly what tennis elbow is. More or less what tennis elbow is inflammation in your elbow, often caused by some type of dysfunction in the musculature of your forearm. That's just the skinny version of it. Obviously, you can get into the intricacies of it, but that's kind of outside of the scope of this video. Again, just think about it as something to do with some type of dysfunction in your forearm causing inflammation in your elbow. In the past, when I would deal with tennis elbow, again, I would either back off very, very light on my bench press, or I'd just switch to dumbbells. And I would have to use dumbbells both in my pressing as well as in my pulling. So I couldn't do any heavy barbell rowing. And if my tennis elbow ever acts up again, I'm probably gonna do the same thing. Just lay off some of the exercises that hurt it. And that's just a good general rule. If something's bothering a joint, maybe start to change your technique or just shy away from it for a little bit and then revisit it in a different way. Now let's actually get into the exercise that I was doing and I'm still doing now to help alleviate and hopefully cure my tennis elbow. I'll be honest, I can't say it's 100%, but I'll say it's 95%, and I can continue to progress up on my bench. I feel it a little bit, and only in weird circumstances, if I have to grab something very quickly or squeeze something or try to like turn a wrench. Weird stuff like that'll aggravate it, but for the most part, benching, pulling, all that stuff feels great. I actually got this idea on a rock climbing forum. So I went on all different forums to figure out how people alleviated their tennis elbow, and it was always pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. Oh, ice, rest, lay off of it for X amount of time. But I actually stumbled upon an exercise that really helped me. I was on a rock climbing forum, and this guy said the tennis elbow is caused when there's an imbalance between your flexors, or namely the musculature for closing your fist, and the extensors, or the musculature for actually opening your hand. And he said if your flexors are overpowering your extensors, you're gonna deal with some tennis elbow. And I figured, you know what? I've tried everything, let's give it a shot. So what I did is I wanted to strengthen my extensors, and I did that using rubber bands. So real quick, this is how I did it. A rubber band around my thumb, turned it around my finger. And I did that for each finger, just like this. And more or less, I would just open and close my hand like this. I would progress up with reps, and I started to feel a little bit of relief after about 2 weeks. I'm like, oh no, this can't be it. But I had no better explanation because I've tried everything else. I've tried the rest, I've tried the ice, I've tried the heat. So I figured, all right, let's go for it. Let's actually bench press. Let's get a good flat barbell bench press day in. And the next day, it still wasn't that sore. As crazy as it sounds, these rubber bands were starting to help. The problem with the rubber bands is they break all the time, you lose them all the time. So I actually went on Amazon and I found something. So this is what I got. This Airy Island is actually a great extensor, man. It works like the rubber bands, but you can actually progress up. So there's 3 levels in here. It works the same exact way. You just put your thumb in, and then your fingers in, and then you just extend your hand. So literally, the principle of progression, you can go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. I'll be honest, I've just stuck with level 1. I get the reps in. How many reps you can get from me, I try to get 5 rounds of 50 reps. And yeah, it's tiring, I'll be honest. I actually have a forearm pump afterwards. This is all I do. I just open my hand, hold it for a second, close it. Open my hand, hold it for a second, and close it. And honestly, that has alleviated almost all of the pain with my tennis elbow. I hope that helps you. I can't say for sure that it will, but I can say for sure that this has helped me dramatically. So if you're somebody that's dealing with tennis elbow and it feels like you've tried everything, because that's exactly where I was at. I've tried everything. then give this a shot, because believe it or not, it really works. If you like the video, if you find it informative, don't forget to like the video. If you're interested in seeing more of our content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out our other videos, like, share, anything you can do to help us grow the channel, because we're committed to watching this channel grow. Again, I'm Alex Wallace. This is Wallace Training Systems, and I'll see you in the next video.